Hi everyone, and welcome back to another build along session with LearnBook. Today I wanted to get to the point of finishing our login step and getting to creating a training organization, because I've seen several times the same question that I had at the beginning of Noodle, where I was really quite confused as to how to set up what in Bubble is called privacy rules and what in Noodle is called the access control list. So row level security, which is something that we see in Supabase and that we also have in Parse, the system that Noodle uses in its backend. And it is kind of difficult to, the ACL maybe not as difficult to wrap your head around, but the actual system that works best in Noodle, which is using roles, a mixture of roles and users to give access to data in the database. So I'm hoping we can get to organization today, so I can talk a little bit about how I would set up roles when creating an organization for the teachers to be a part of, that would show really clearly how this will work in the future, and just talking about some examples of how that's worked in the past for me and how I think it's going to work in LearnBook as well. So we got to the point where we had created we have our welcome step. I'm going to put this login sign up component away for the moment, and I'm going to call this deprecated. And we'll put this away in default or something. Okay, so we got to the point where we can click login. It takes us nowhere. How did that happen? I forgot about that. So where we can click on nothing at the moment, I don't think, actually, if I remember right. So we have our repeater that has a bunch of cards in it, and we want to say when we click on let's go for a teacher or let's go for a learner, that it goes to different places. So that's going to have to leave the repeater as an output. Something has to go out of the repeater, and that would obviously be in the repeater, not here. Duh. Come on. There we go. So from inside the repeater card needs to come out some data. So the data that's going to come out is the type. Remember, we have we have an object. Each one of these has different fields that we defined in a custom JSON ourselves, and one of them was type, because I know that I need to output that at some point. So here it's going to be type output, and type will go to type. And when you click on that button, that's going to also do an output, which is button clicked. So that we'll be able to tell outside the repeater what is going on and with which element of the repeater it's going on with. So we're going to want to do a couple of things. Out of this repeater is going to come, let's just do a little test. I like putting string nodes around just to test things. Out of this is going to come type. So if we highlight this, we pin this to see what's going to come out. Oh, no, nothing. Okay. Click, type, learner, output, type, yes. Why is nothing coming out of my repeater? Let's say set value. Might that help? Here we go. Set the value. That's cool. So the type is coming out. It just needed to be set to the string. If I click this one, organization. If I click this one, it's learner. Nice. So we know that we're going to get that coming out. Now what we want to do is have that fire off different paths and send this user different ways through probably the component, the same parent component object. So we know that we want to go to, teacher sign up, and we're probably going to do something slightly different for organization. So go to org sign up, and then learner would be go to learner sign up. So even though I think teacher sign up and org sign up are going to be very similar, it might be that I'll send teachers to the form fields first for signing up, and then say, do you want to have an organization, or are you happy just being a solo teacher? And then for organizations, I might say, here's the organization form. Do you want, here's the organization form. Now you have to sign up. So sort of send them in reverse. Could be an interesting way to do it. So we'll see. It'll be fun. So to fire these different signals, we need to have something here that's going to switch out. So we could either use a state node, or we could use a switch, like maybe we used before a switch, but I think I would like to use the switch here, just because I only wanted to do a states node would be cool, and it would be an easy way to do it. But I kind of prefer state nodes when I have more things that I want to put in there, like more data that I want to put in there. And I'm starting to not get afraid of putting in a little bit of JavaScript from time to time. So I'm going to put in a function node, just because it just feels cleaner. It just feels like you have full, when you're coding, you have full control over what it's doing. So we're going to do a switch. Will I actually remember how to do this? Switch, and then what comes after switch? Can I get like a little code help here or something? Expression expected, yes. We need to go to parentheses, and then it's inputs type, and then curly braces. Yes. Ooh, it's getting intense. So case, and it's gonna be teacher double point. I'm remembering this so well. I've been practicing. I'm going to make a mistake probably at some point, but return output. No, is that right? Yeah, outputs to teacher login sign up. Brick. No, that's not right. Didn't like that. I shouldn't put a return in there, should I? Outputs the teacher sign up equals true. No. No. It's with that we needed to be a signal. I wanted to be a signal to fire something through the parent component. Maybe just leave it like that and see what it does. Just in case, maybe that might work. How do you do another case? It's like this. And I'm doing that wrong. Okay, keep trying, and then we'll fix it. We'll fix it afterwards. So the case, next one is organization, and that's going to be outputs to org sign up. That's how I called it, org sign up, didn't I? No, or did I call it organization? No, org sign up. Doesn't matter. It's only the output. Doesn't really matter. Break, and if it's case learner, then outputs to learner sign up signal and break. Could that be all it takes? Or am I completely mad? Type goes to our input type that we defined, and our output signal is to teacher sign up goes to teacher sign up, to org sign up goes to org sign up, and the learner sign up goes to learner sign up. So that should be a pretty simple way to do it. So let's just oh wow, look at all that stuff. Okay. Like it might sound like I'm trying to be really humble, but I actually didn't think that was going to work. Okay, cool. So this is send user to the right destination. And these are our destinations. That's cool. So we have like 4 different paths we can take here. It's pretty nuts, this login page. Okay. Yeah, that was emotional. Now we need somewhere for it to actually go, because on the login step we actually don't have anything here. You know, we have go to teacher sign up, go to org sign up, go to learner sign up, go to teacher sign up. So we need to define these all the time with the component objects. Go to org sign up, go to learner sign up. Okey-dokey. And then we're going to have more component stack elements here. So let's do the teacher one for now. So what was it? Teacher sign up. Push teacher sign up. And that goes here. Go to teacher sign up, navigate, and then, hey, nice. That's good. Now we need the next to take us to the next step. So where's the next step? Teacher sign up. No, that's not where it should go. That's not right. That's not right, that one. Why is it telling me that? Oh, login form. Okay, no. Yeah, we were still using the login form. Oops. I should not have taken that out. Sorry, little login form. So you're just a login form now. That's why I was confused. Login step. And we're going to put that into the login components, I guess. No, sign up steps. So sign up steps, and then we wanted to put the sign up form into like with a header and stuff like that. We'll do that afterwards. I really want to get to the organization part. I'm focused today. And so sign user up, sign up form. There is the button we're looking for. That does the sign up. And then nothing happens because at the moment there's no success signal coming out of that. So we're going to need that success signal to go to there and go to org sign up, I think. Yeah. Go to org sign up, and then we'll have to put in some special conditions to say you're on the org sign up, but you actually came from the teacher sign up, so show them a teacher specific message and not a org specific message, but I'll figure that out afterwards. So if it's successful, then it should go to org sign up. If it's successful. Yes, if it's successful, then it goes to org sign up, and the org sign up is not, we haven't got an org sign up yet. Let's probably put these over here like this, make them a little bit prettier. There we go, a bit better organized. So we're going to need our org sign up step, sign up flow replace, organization sign up. So the moment we don't have one, we need to set one. So if I do this, it's going to go nowhere because we haven't actually defined anything in here for org sign up. We need to make a new thing based on our Figma. Let's get the Figma. Yeah. So this is pretty simple. I think I would like to keep it something similarly simple. I don't think I want to have a pop-up because for me, adding a training organization, its name, logo, it could be company number, they might need that as well, address. So maybe have a couple more steps in there before getting to, not just have, because I'm not going to do this multiple organizations thing. I'm going to talk to the designer about that on Monday. I'm going to have one organization per person. So I'm a new user, I'm allowed to start one new organization. So I'll keep a similar sort of style anyway. So something that looks a little bit like the sign up form perhaps. Same sort of group size. What group size was that? Max width 400. Let's do that. And so this is sign up components. I'm going to keep it in sign up components, visual, and it's going to be called org sign up. Group is going to be, we said 400 max width. And it's going to be explicit width and content height. Okay. Text title. Text explanation. And text title. So this is going to be training organization. It's going to be a title, I would imagine. And this is going to say, yeah, so this is going to say a text, and the text will depend on a state. I think this, well, like I said earlier, this is going to have a couple of states. This is going to have the state of is teacher or is org admin. It's going to be two states that we're going to have where the intro text is going to be a little bit different, and the probably we're going to have a solo button. So we're probably going to have a solo button that will say if it's a teacher it's mounted, if it's an org admin it's not mounted. So it'll be a special one of these sort of cool looking buttons that will say just make me a solo organization, and that will only be mounted if you're a teacher and not if you're an org admin. So this is a rectangle with 400 width and a nice little text inside. Let's put it here for the moment. So it's a rectangle with max 400 width, just like the group, but whatever, just in case. And it has a background of some funky 20% blue color. I don't think I have already. We're going to call this light, so button background light blue. And there she blows. Button background light blue. That did not work. It did not work because I didn't type enter. No, it doesn't want to work. It just doesn't like me. Doesn't like that hex code is why. Because it should be, what is that, like 33%? Is that what that is? 20%. 20%. That's very light. Whee, that's very light. Okay, doesn't matter. We're doing all this in theory, not even looking at it on the right side of the screen. That is just one of those Noodle things where I start to I always really like picturing things in my head when I'm building. So it's really a pleasure for me to do that with Noodle and then kind of go, okay, it's time to actually go and have a look at it. I feel like I'm always getting distracted by what's on the right side sometimes. I just like to just visualize it in my head and then build it from what I think it's going to look like and then push it out in the end to see what it really does look like. So where's my org sign up? I'm starting to get a lot of components. That's one thing about Noodle that's a bit tricky, is that in the component selector fields, you're always given the option of all the components in the whole app. And so once you've got like 50, 60 more components, that starts to get like a very long list. And like you can actually search. So you can actually type org and it will come up. And that's okay. Arguably that's good, but it would be nice to actually have the folder hierarchy that you could click and go through, like choosing a file in a standard kind of desktop file browser. That would be really nice. Just saying, just in case anyone's listening. So let's try to get to that page. That's my password. Did I not make that a password field? Oh, the password field's not working. I'll fix that later. Something went wrong. Oh, okay. Clever trick. Hey, there we go. Here we are at our org sign up point. Org sign up point. So we said it's 400, but we didn't say that it was center aligned or middle aligned. Okay, it looks nice. We need a little bit of a gap there. 30, geez, it's always something funny. Okay, so there's like a 10, 9, 10, let's say gap between these two things, so we'll put them in a group. We'll call this intro text, no, header, and it's going to have 10 vertical gap, and then that goes here, and that goes here, and then this group is going to be that button, and so this has a 30 vertical gap, the full group itself has a 30 gap, and then that'll put a gap between this header group and this group, which is going to contain our little button text and funky icon. So what am I doing? Horizontal button text. Oops. Come on, rollerball mouse. Add a training organization. Now this is only going to be in the case that they're a teacher and we're giving them the choice between these two things. We'll come back to that in a minute. So this is a bit of a darker blue. This is interesting. These little blue shady things. Yeah, oh, okay, it's the full blue, not the 20% version. So this is a nice color. We're going to call this light blue. All right, light blue. Set yourself. Nice. So that text is going to be. What did I just make light blue? Oh, the icon. Sorry. How big was that icon? 40 pixels. And it is a plus. No, it is a plus. No, it is a add. It is a what? There we go. Nice, that'll do, looks okay. It's not as tight as this one, but, and then that's going to be a label medium, no, label large, yes, probably, and then we're going to make it light blue, and then we're going to make it centered, and we're going to make it, I don't know what else, constrained, and then we're going to make it, why is it not centering this bloody thing? There we go. And then we need a gap. Goodness, this takes a long time. We're going to make it a horizontal gap here because I like that. Oh my, 20 is fine. There's a bit of padding on this guy. 20 padding, 8 on the top, 8 on the bottom. Having to click in between all the fields. Can I just tab through them or something? Wouldn't that be cool? Okay. And then that old rounded corner thing there. 10 corners, 10. And I think I would like to make this into a global reusable component because it is so pretty. Let's call it pretty button. It's so pretty. I want you to be a global visual component because I'm going to use you all the time. Pretty button. And I'm going to treat you real nice. Outputs to some lovely component outputs like button clicked. And we're going to give you going to give you some inputs like button label and icon. we will get back to how do we change icons eventually. We have to put a function in here. Let's add ourselves a little comment. Don't forget to add the icon conversion, icon object creator constructor function, double exclamation point. Nobody will forget that, with 2 exclamation points. I guess color probably as well. I'll come back to this. I would probably end up adding a states node to it, where the button label is the only thing we can custom set, but the states node will say like yellow button, blue button, black button, whatever. You know, plus icon, home icon, and then that means that the state you can sort of select from a drop down from the outside and not have to manually type stuff in. But for now, let's just leave it with the label, and we'll come back to that. So pretty button. Creep myself out sometimes. There we go. And then we've got a form that we need to put in here. Oh, and a text as well. So if you are, so this is the intro text. And this button, oh yeah, we need to say if this is mounted or not, of course. This button has to be mounted or not. Mounted. Pretty button. Solo button, if there's a solo button, then this button is going to be mounted. So add a training organization, and then we'll put another one which is going to say I'm a solo teacher. What? I'm a freelance teacher. Now let's call them independent. And if they're an independent teacher, it just takes them straight to the final step. Wouldn't that be right? Yes. Okay, and this one would be mounted as well. If it's a solo teacher. Now, if it's not a solo teacher, it's going to be an org. The org form is going to be mounted on page load. So that's going to be our little form, like the sign up form, but for a org. Yeah, should we copy this? Starting to regret not making a form with a JSON like I've seen some people do. It's a very handy way to make these custom forms. Anyway, let's just make a form here for now. A couple of input fields. It's not going to be that big a deal, so we'll just leave it for now. We're going to have do we have a standard orange input. So org name. Oh no, we have pretty inputs. What am I doing? We have our pretty inputs. Silly me. Now because it's on 2 lines, it looks a bit funny. Leave it for now. Leave it for now. Don't need an icon. That's fine. Okay. So the organization name. We're going to do company number and stuff. Nah, forget it. Just for now, I'd leave it like this. We want to get to the ends. So I'll put another 20 vertical gap here, I guess. Okay. Oh no, I don't want that one. Yeah, no, it's fine. We'll start with this variant and make a new one. We're not going to enable an icon. We're going to say validate. We're going to say that's orange. Okay, and we're going to add a new variant which is called orange button. But no icon. Nice. Okay. Now, still have all of our lovely parent component information, like when go to org sign up becomes true, or go to teacher sign up becomes true. When go to teacher sign up becomes true, oh no. Or go to org sign up becomes true, that will change the state. So go to teacher sign up will make it is teacher, go to org sign up will make it is org. Depending on that, then this one will be mounted or not. Will that work? Why is it not going anywhere? I don't know why that got disconnected. Weird. No, that's not right. Where did it go? Teacher sign up, org sign up, learner sign up. So login, go to teacher sign up, push teacher sign up. Oh yeah, okay. We have to sign up first. Oh yeah, oops. I'll do another one. Just delete them afterwards. Didn't really need to use a real email address actually. Okay, it kind of worked because I said I'm a teacher and now it's giving me these two choices. Good. This is good. Trust me. We didn't have any intro text. That was a bit sad. So, would you like to add a training organization to your account, or simply sign up as an independent teacher? It's probably too much text, but whatever. Please fill in your organization details below. So this will be the first text that comes up when it's a training organization that comes through. So if though the teacher does click add training organization, then we should still show the form afterwards. So this lovely pretty button should actually switch this to org form afterwards. It all sounds a bit weird, but now they've become an org admin in the eyes of the, by the way, pretty button doesn't have any sign that it's a button at the moment. It's just a mouse cursor. Not cool. hate CSS. I know nothing about CSS, but I do know how to write cursor pointer. Ta-da! So now I got a pointer. So when I click that, it should take me to my form. Nice. And then I'm going to type in the organization name and click on the standard button. So it's going to be Allscorp, and then validate. So when I click validate, finally we get to our create new organization logic. Now that's going to be a logic component. It's going to be called sign org up, because we have sign user up and now we have sign org up. So sign org up is going to be here, sign org up button, click do. So when I click this button, it's going to take the inputs output, put it in here. So that we need that first of all. So org name needs to come from the normal input, text output, org name. So then if I type in Allscorp, it goes in here. And then what happens inside here is going to be where the magic happens. So we obviously need to create a record, which is going to be of a class we don't have yet. So we're going to call that class organization. And so far, organization just has a name. Yeah. And at the moment, so if you're going from like bubble perspective, you would be like, or whatever database, database system, you'd be like, okay, I need to link the users with the org. How do I do that? Option 1, the org has list of members, list of admins. Option 2, the user has my orgs, and it says if this user has this org in list of my orgs, then that's okay. If a user has a column org admin orgs, where like these are the orgs in which I'm an admin, and then another column org member, and another column org guests, and whatever. But that's not what we're going to do in Noodle, because Noodle has this fabulous thing called roles, which is kind of like a what do you call those crossover bridge table things in SQL and SQL, like a reference table. So between the organization and the user, the role will serve as a kind of reference in between the two things, and I'll show you what I mean. A role is you can look at the class. It's as easy to understand as that. The default stuff that comes with roles, which is created with every new Noodle project, is you have ACL. So ACL means who can actually read this line in the database. So at the moment, these users that I just created, anybody who has, like, for example, an API connection into the backend, they will be allowed to read this data. If like a user comes into my app and they're not authenticated and they do a query, like query users, for whatever reason, like it's in the app, they would be able to see that user in the list. They would be able to see any data about that user in the list because they have read access. They wouldn't be able to write. So if they tried to do a update record node or create record node, set properties node or create record node, then they wouldn't be able to do that because they can't write. The user who created this user, so the same user who created the user, has read and write access. And you can add manually roles and users to this list. So notice the really, really important point that putting people into this list is either a user, like here, or a role. So it's in every class that you create. Every class you create has an ACL, and in every class you create, you are allowed, if you want to, define a list of people or roles that will have access to this. But what does it mean if you define a role that has access to this line in the database? Like, for example, if I turned off public read, It means that only this user can access this user's data. Okay, that's fine, but then what happens if the learner this is their teacher wants to see the username of the teacher, or like wants to see the first and last name of the teacher in the message list? Well, they can't, because they are not in this list. Therefore, they are not allowed to go and read anything from the database about this user. They're not allowed to write, that doesn't matter, but they're also publicly not able to read. So the message would come up with just like undefined as the first and last name of their teacher, because they are not allowed to access that teacher's data in the database. So this is why ACL is really important. So if you can add users, it means, okay, maybe I can add my learner in here and add that into the ACL, but it doesn't work like that, because ACL is defined at the moment of creation, or you can redefine it at the moment of updating, of setting properties to a record, but you have to redefine everything. You have to redefine all the roles. It's kind of complicated to pull existing roles out of a record and then rewrite them to the ACL. It is possible, but it's complicated. So the best practice here is, without going into too much detail and being too much of a fanboy about ACL, the best practice is set up your ACL the way it's supposed to be at the moment of creating the item in the database, in the class, and then just don't touch it anymore. So already have it set up with every possible configuration that would be needed to be able to for everybody in the future who might want to see this teacher to be able to see it. For every future learner who's going to be added will end up in here. Now, how can you do that if you define it at the beginning? You're not going to put in my learner 1 and then later on put in my learner 2 and whatever. That doesn't work like that. What you need is this teacher's learners role, right? That would be that's the grouping that I want, that would help, because then I can have that grouping which has relations as opposed to an ACL, and say, okay, I've added that grouping, this teacher's learners, into there. The teacher just added a new learner. Okay, stick that learner into that role. That grouping is called, and here it's called a role. Stick that learner into that role. They will automatically get access, as all other members of this role do, to read this teacher's data. And that's the essence of roles. It's a grouping of users. You don't have to have any users in there at the beginning. You just name the grouping and then store it somewhere so you can easily retrieve it, and then add users to that grouping later. And that grouping in Noodle is called roles. So you can see that there are a couple of columns. I'll just add a test role. Oh. Nobody wouldn't do public read and write, obviously. So the two default columns and roles are users, which is what we just talked about. So I have my X teachers learners role, and then I add learners one by one as this teacher carries on their career into this role, and that means they're allowed to see the teacher's data, because this role is part of the ACL of the user, of the teacher. You can also add roles to roles. So this is where it gets really confusing. So I don't think we should go down this road today. I would just stick with users. We create a role and we put users in that role. That's the easiest way. So what we are going to want to do is have in an organization different roles to say, are you an admin of this org? Are you allowed to see the admin panel, for example? Are you a teacher of this org? A member, let's call them. So as a member, you can create and do things, but you can't, for example, print out a bill or something, or create a bill from the admin section. Or are you a guest in this organization? That is to say, you can see the name of the organization, you can see some data from the organization, but you're not allowed to write anything. You can't create new groups, you can't create new lessons. So for me, admins, members, and guests has become a really standard trifecta of permissions in something like an organization. And what I would do there is, I want to know in the future what this role is. And I know there's different ways of doing that. I know that I've seen some people doing it with just the name of the role, which is a good way to do it, I guess, as well. But I like having a direct line to the role, and roles becomes a bit confusing in another way, which is when using it in the app, sometimes the app wants to know the ID, the object ID of the role, like what is this, unique ID of this role. And sometimes it wants to know what's the actual title of this role. I don't care about the ID, I want the title of it, because the titles of roles are supposed to be unique. Why? I don't know. Anyway, it's just the way it is, and it is confusing, but if you can learn to work with this system, it's actually pretty handy, pretty useful. So I'm going to do it my way, which is doing pointers. So to say, in my organization table, I want pointers that points to a role, and that role where we're pointing to, we're going to call the column org admins. Add that one. I'm going to do another pointer to a role called org members. We're going to do another pointer to a role called org guests. So there we go, org admins, org members, org guests. And now what we're going to do is, when we've created our org, which is called org name, we're going to start a little cycle of creation. We're going to have access control rules as well for that org. So the user who created the org is allowed to read the org admin is going to read and write to the org. So an org admin is allowed to change the name of the org, for example, but an org member would not be allowed to change the name or the logo of the org, for example. So this rule at the creation point of this org is going to be called org admins. I'm going to add a role which is called org members and guests. It's a role where they can only read to the org. This is what I was talking about, where the ACL wants to know the name of the role. It doesn't want to go and look up the role, I guess is how I understand it. It doesn't want to go to the role class and look up what the role is. It wants to just know, oh, you're from the blah, blah, blah role. Okay, well then you can see or you can write to me. So what we do here is, it's kind of a funky way to do it. Just stay with me. The role needs to have a unique ID. So if somebody comes in and makes Oscorp org, and we call them Oscorp admins in the role table, what about the next joker who comes along and also is called Oscorp, and then that also creates an Oscorp role, Oscorp admins, and then you have two? That's not possible in the database. That would not be good. So we're going to make it a unique ID. We are going to map that unique ID to our string, which is going to be unique ID dash and org name. Dash admins. So this is going to be the admins string. Unique ID goes here. Org name goes here. And then we get blah, 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 Oscorp admins. So that's going to be the name of the admin's role. So we can already add that in here. Formatted text goes to. So look down into your access rules, org admin access role. So the role is the name. And you could obviously dynamically set if it's going to be read or write as well. So then that goes in here as the org name. But consider that we actually don't have that role yet. What's funny about these ACL questions is it's not actually important that we haven't created a role yet, because all it's doing is asking for the name that it's going to use then to look up in the role list to find out where that name is. Why it uses the name as the unique identifier and not the object ID, again, I'm not 100% sure. I think it's just about the way that it doesn't want to do pointers or whatever. So that's one, admins, and then we need members, where I will just use the same unique ID because it just has to be unique. So if it's 3 unique IDs, the same unique ID, but each one has admins or members or guests, it's still unique. So I wouldn't bother doing 3 unique IDs just for that. And org name, that means members. So that goes to members, perfect. Formatted members. Did it actually make a, no, it's the same. Okay, good. Okay, and then guests. Unique ID. Org name. That will go in here. Silly me. Org members and guests. Well, obviously that wouldn't work. Needs to be 2 roles with the same permissions. So org guests is a role, and the role is read only, and it is guests or guests role. So we've named the role, and as long as we give that same exact name to the roles we're going to create, then that's fine. Create new record. So I could probably do this through a run tasks node and do 3 iterations over the same one, but I kind of just feel like being lazy tonight as usual. So we're just going to do role, and we're going to call this admin. The admin text will be the name of the role, and the role itself, and this is where it's a little bit confusing, the role itself is going to have the user being able to read and write to the role. Yeah, because then the user can change the relations of that role later. So if I add a new admin to my organization, I'm allowed to do that because I can write to that role and say, hey, the admin's role, I want you to have a new user, please. So that's what we want, is to have that role in there. Or yes, that's, yeah. I'm not sure if we can do it recursively and say, if you're an org admin, you can edit the org admins. Probably you can, but let's not do that just right now. And that's the only person who's going to be able to read that role. So if a member comes in and says, hey, I'm an org admin, it won't even let them query the org admin role in the database. It'll say, huh, what org admin? I've never heard of an org admin. Because you are not in the ACL, you can't even see, it'll just return nothing. It'll return empty, as if there's nothing in the database. So that's really where the power of ACL is. It's really to say, you're not allowed to see these lines because I don't see you in the ACL. So you are not getting in here tonight, sir. We need to put the user in there as in the ACL. So we're going to put user, which is the current user. This is the person who's just been signed in, so they have created an account. So we can put them in user ID, not the name of the user, funnily enough, but the user ID. And we're also going to put them in the, if I can, put them into the users column. It means that, this is confusing, right? It's to say that I am now a member of the admin group. So if you put the admin group in the org ACL, it means that I'm a member of the admin group and the admin group is in the ACL of the org. Therefore, I'm allowed to access data in the org and I'm allowed to edit write to the data in the org. I'm also in the ACL of the admin role. That means forget about the org. I can write to the role itself. So I can actually say add another admin in here. You know, it could be the case that, for example, an admin might be allowed to write and read. An admin might be allowed to write and read to the org. So they're in the role which has been inserted in here with read and write access. But maybe the user themselves is not actually allowed to write, saying, no, the admin is locked down. You are an admin, but you can't add any other admins. That's just locked down. There's only one admin, for example. So that could be a way to do it in terms of app safety. So that's creating that record. And then, yes, we're going to create that record. And we can actually create this record before we even create the org, because we're only creating with the name. So there's no particular link to the org apart from that it's using the same name in its ACL. So it doesn't matter in which order we actually set this in, because it's not taking the ID from this and putting it into the ACL. It's just saying I've defined the name of the role and I can put it wherever I want. And you can't stop me. Don't forget that the admin role has to also be in our pointers. Another level of complexity. Why? Because we can't. Okay, we can't. I've heard that you can from somebody in the Noodle team, but I never figured out how to do it. I heard that you can pull an array of role names from a record. So you could go and say, hey, organization X, Oscorp, give me all of the roles that you have in your ACL, and it pumps out the names of the roles. Apparently that's possible. I haven't quite wrapped my head around it. So what I do is say, hey org, please, I want to know if I want to take your admin's role and I want to add it into another place. Like I've created a new training course and I want to make sure the org admins have access to it. So I want you to give me your org admin role, and I'm going to put it into a new thing that I'm creating to make sure the admins have access to it. Hope that makes sense. So this is where the pointer comes in, because the pointer means I could just say, hey, org admin, oh, you have a field called org admins, and that's a role. Cool. I'll take that ID and put it into another creation that I just did. So we still have to add that in there. So admins record has to become the pointer in org admins, as well as the role itself. That means I'm allowed to edit the organization, right? So I'm storing the org admins in the org in a field. I'm also putting the org admins in as editors of the org itself. Yeah, I know. I feel it. I'm there with you. I'll make members, so this should all be pretty straightforward now, right? So the user is still a member. Arguably, we're going to probably not need to put the user into members, because we're going to make members a sub role. We're going to make admins a sub role of members eventually, but let's not go down that road just yet. Okay, we're going to have to go down that road, because I don't want to it's just stupid to put somebody who's a user doesn't need to be in the members, because what normally would happen is admins would become, admin role would become a sub role of the members role, meaning anywhere a member goes, an admin is automatically allowed to go to. So if a member gets added into the ACL of a new course we just created, so like, okay, hey org, give me your members please, I'm going to put it into a new course, make sure the members can access it, then the admin doesn't have to be added separately. The admin is a sub member of members role, a sub role of the members role. So if you add members somewhere, then admins will automatically get a pass to get in there as well. So this is putting a role inside another role to make sure that you have this cascading permissions waterfall that gets created. Anyway, so we're going to give members the name. What is it? Yeah, name. we're going to say that there is an ACL user read and write, and that is going to be me for now. No, that is going to be who's going to be allowed to read and write members. The org admin is going to be the one to read and write to members. So it means if I want to add a new member, it's got to be the org admin or one of the org admins who writes to who does the writing in the members group. So admin's name becomes part of the ACL role name. The access role is the name of the role. So that admin role is now allowed to edit the member's role, i.e. to add new members to that role, new users to that role, right? So we don't need to add myself in here as a member because I'm a member of the admin role. Okay, and then it's starting to get messy. Sorry, to move this around a bit. Guests. So members are going to be a sub role of guests. Anywhere you add a guest, you add a member, and therefore also add an admin. So therefore the cascading permissions. Just because I'm a guest does not mean I can access stuff where admins are in the ACL. It doesn't work backwards. Members are a sub role of my guest role, and admins are a sub role of the members role. Therefore it works in only that direction. An admin can go anywhere a member can go, but a member cannot go everywhere an admin can go. A member can go anywhere a guest can go, but a guest cannot go where a member can go, and certainly cannot go where an admin can go. That's what this cascading sort of hellscape is all about. Is that, yeah, anyway. So we said that that's the access control. What did we say we're going to do with that? Yeah, so there's the role, read and write role to that is going to be members and therefore also admins. So the name members is the role that's allowed to read and write to guests, and members is a sub role of guests, and guests also has a name, of course. And we forgot to add these in to our org. So the members gets pointed to in org. So the org always knows what its members role is. And it also always knows what its guest role is. That's a mess in Noodles. We have to do something about this. Okay. Let's move these guys up here. Let's move this down here. Let's say that we are going to create guests, members, admins, unique IDs up here. That looks better. That looks funky. Funky spider diagram. And then the users down here because we only need it once for admins. Okay. That doesn't look too crazy, does it? A little bit. Jeez, oh. Don't even know what output we're going to get yet. So it's going to come in here with the do signal. It's going to create an admin role. When that's done, it's going to create a members role. When that's done, it's going to create a guests role. And when that's done, it's finally going to create the org with all of the different pointers to the different roles we created and all of the different permissions of what those roles can do with the organization. And then that's going to be used time and time again for other things in the future where it's going to be used for creating lessons, courses, a lot of different things are going to happen with this mighty, tiny little logic component here. Anyway, I think I can't really talk roles anymore. I'll be talking it to death, but that's where we're at with ACL and roles, how we give access and make sure that there's only the access that we want to give. It means that we can just go and turn off at org class, all the ACLs should be created with no public reader write, because I haven't actually defined public reader write. If you want to have public reader write, like it's a product in a basket or in a catalog and you want people to be able to see it, then by all means go rule everyone read only, and then that means that you get this public read rule in there. But if I turn that off, then it means these are the only 3 roles that will ever be able to do anything with organizations. I'll have to add people into guests if I want them to see the org. If a learner comes in to do a lesson, they must be in the org guests, or else they're not going to be able to do anything with to see the org info. They're not going to be able to see the lesson info, because it's all going to be set up based on these roles. I think that what I've done, I think, is right anyway, and we can always modify it later. And this is the whole point of pencil sketching, is this seems good based on what I've done in the past, but in the end I might change guests to learners, I might change members to teachers to have the terminology clearer. I might change the way that it's set up so that it's not so tightly locked down. But you know, if you can say your app is so tightly locked down that you've defined on a row level who can actually access every piece of information, you know, that's a pretty secure app. So, and it seems to work pretty quickly as well, by the way, the whole role checking thing. So anyway, I'll leave it there for tonight, because I think my head is about to melt. So I hope you've at least understood something, and good luck playing with it. If you want to play with something like this and you want to see how those roles work, just do a query. Because if you stick a query in, create a couple of things in the database with these kind of role conceptions, log in and then try to do a query, you'll see whether the data appears or not in the results of the query. So that's some of the best tests I've ever done, you know, doing a query and seeing 0 results and thinking that's great, because it was with the previous user that I created 5 things, and now I'm with a new user and I see nothing. That's perfect, because that means that from one user to the next, you're not allowed to see things in the database. But if you do your query and you've got like 20 results and it's from like 5 different users, you're like, all right, okay, I have access to everything. That's not good. So it's public read, at least. I need to fix that and lock that down. So this is all interesting stuff. So hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.